Everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the roll, please. Administrator?
That's right.
Councilmember Morissette.
Yes, here.
Here.
DeZiel.
Here.
Weber is absent. Atkins Hoggett.
Yes.
And Hall.
Here.
I'm sorry. And Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
All right, there we go.
Thanks, sir.
All right, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Is there anybody that has a comment? Please keep them to subjects not on the agenda. Anybody have a comment? Yes. Oh, you had something to say.
Oh, I wonder what she could be talking about.
You all have your brochure. Amanda Hine, 1907 Riverview Lane, Somerset. I would like to welcome the citizens of Hudson to the 31st Annual Hot Air Fair. It truly is a compliment to Hudson that we're able to successfully hold this event for 30 years. The business support and involvement has made the front of our 3-page brochure, which you all have, small enough to warrant your reading glasses. So if you didn't bring them, a good time to take them out. The Hudson Hot Air Fair will begin February 7th through 9th. We encourage all to come early, as the weather will be cooperative for playing outside. Please join us in all the events. Some of the highlights will be Friday night's torchlight parade and fireworks downtown. Saturday's balloon launches, weather permitting, will be at 7:35 a.m. and again at 3 p.m. Outside of the balloon launches, we have a marketplace and craft fair at the EP Rock from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. New this year is the Runnin' Up North 5K and Kids Run at Camp St. Croix North property. It begins at 9 a.m. There's also a cornhole tournament at Big Guy's Barbecue from 10 to 2, and the high noon hot balloon fat bike race will be down at Lakefront Park. While you're downtown, make sure you take a selfie at the temporary installment of the Uplift art piece. The City Council was so supportive for this great community piece, so please be sure to tag it with your #UpliftHudson. Don't forget to get your costumes teamed together for the annual smoosh boarding competition at 1 p.m. at EP Rock. We'll have outdoor hammerschlagen and activities to keep the entire family busy. There are over 45 events during these 3 days. We encourage everyone to come out and play with us. Come early, and don't be afraid to dress up in your best up north gear. We thank all of our sponsors, our community, and volunteers that make the event the talk of the region. A special thank you out to our city council, the staff, police, EMS, and the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. Consent agenda.
Let's see.
It is.
Approve the meeting minutes from the January 20th, 2020 regular council meeting. Approve the claims in the amount of $277,866.19. Approve the regular operator license applications as listed on the issue sheet. Approve the purchase of a Ford F-250 for the fire department. Approve the 3-year lease agreement with the St. Croix Rowing Club for space at 6 St. Croix Street. Approve the stormwater operating and maintenance procedures. Approve the installation of no parking signs on the west side of Heritage Boulevard. Approve the contract with FOTH in the amount of $56,000 for engineering services for the boat launch improvement project.
Can you pull that one here? H, yep.
Appointment of special prosecutor for municipal court, and that's it.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item H. Roll call?
Morissette.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Atkins Hoggett.
Yes.
And Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Item H.
Yep, so when I was reading through it, and I'm not opposed to the boat launch idea at all, but what was unclear to me on page 39 of our packet is where it talked about the parking spaces, so I was going to try to get some clarification. It says the project will also review and alternative design to expand the vehicle and boat trailer parking and improve traffic flow through the parking lot and back to the city street. The current parking lot is too small for the number of users, and users frequently park trailers on adjacent city streets, which impacts other business and traffic flow. So that's the quote on page 39 from the proposal. So just a question in terms of, and I know on Park Board, I know Mike knows this, do we have a sense of where we are sort of directing the engineering firm to look at that parking lot expansion?
So right now, we're just approving the contract, and then once the contract is signed, we'll have them come in and speak to the park board, and they'll be able to give input on where that parking lot expansion would be. And then based upon comments received from park board and citizens, they will draft a couple, 2, 3 mock-ups or preliminary designs of what that would look like. So that's to be coming down the road, yes.
So just, and I think I raised this at Park Board, but I think it's worth thinking about. It's just that I hate to encroach anymore on the green space at Lakefront Park, because I just think it's the gem of our city. So the suggestion I had at Park Board was if there was a way, and I don't know with the engineering firm if there's a way to put this in their ear or something, but to think about the space that's, I think it's currently called Picnic Point, which is off to the other side of our, is that the boathouse building?
Yep, south of the Buckeye Garage.
Yep, the Buckeye Garage, sorry. So it's just, I think we should really seriously look at the option of maybe, if there's a way to put the parking there for the trailers and boats and whatnot. And I know this is early on, but I just want to get us thinking about it. And, you know, we'd have to look at traffic flow, obviously, and whatnot, and relocate those play structures that are currently there to Lakefront. But I'm just hesitant to, to try to give up any more green space at Lakefront. So just as we get going, I want to try to head it off and say if there's any way to ask the engineering firm or whatnot to really look at that area, at least as an alternative. And maybe they'll come up with 2 or 3 different, designs or something we can look at a later date.
And that's what we'll do. So like I said, we'll have them come to Park Board. We'll discuss the project, opportunity for anybody to come, you to express your interest in pursuing that, and then they can look at it from an engineering standpoint, traffic flow, so on and so forth, and come up with 2 or 3 different proposals to have final approval on which direction we go. But yeah, no, we can do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
So, sorry.
No,
Well, I was going to say, so that being said, unless there's other thoughts, I would have moved to approve.
Second.
okay, motion is second to approve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion's approved. Preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers, Resolution 3-20, and ordering preparation of engineers' report, plans, and specifications for 2020 mill and overlay project on Industrial Street and Stage Line Road.
Dean Chamberlain, city engineer. So we are kind of getting started on our projects for this year, and the biggest one for this year being our mill and overlay project on Industrial Street and Stage Line Road. Just a little background on the project. Industrial Street and Stage Line Road are 2 of our busier streets in the industrial commercial area south of 94. Industrial Street serves such properties as Fleet Farm and a whole bunch of other industrial properties down the road. The section we'd be looking to mill and overlay is from Crestview Drive to Hanley Road. Stage Line Road connects Carmichael Road to the subdivisions and stuff to the east, including the hospital. It's a very important part of our roadway system. The CIP, as it stands right now, only identified Industrial Street, but as we're kind of going through scoping the project and figuring out what the project would involve, we realized we had some extra wiggle room, and so we tried to see what else we could throw in there, and we wanted to make sure that Stage Line Road is kept up as well, because if that road goes, that's a big problem. So that being said, WISTA, Wisconsin Department of Transportation, has a PACER rating system that rates each road from 1 being failing pavement to 10 being perfect. Industrial Street ranked at a 3 out of 10, and Stage Line Road ranked at a 4 out of 10. And so obviously the closer to 1 you get, the more expensive it gets to fix. So we want to make sure that we don't get closer to lower numbers on the spectrum. 3 to 4 generally rates as a candidate for milling and overlaying rather than digging up the pavement and starting fresh again. There's also many locations of curb and gutter and driveway problems along that street that we would be looking to fix as well, which is where the special assessment portion comes in, and hence why we need a resolution and go through the whole public hearing process for this project. So, so tonight I'm asking to approve the preliminary resolution authorizing the preparation of the report. Moving forward, we'll set a public hearing date. Then, if everything goes according to plan, we would approve plans and specifications, go out for bid, award the contract for construction, hopefully while school is out this summer. So, that being said, does anybody have any questions or concerns or anything?
Go ahead.
Yes. Don't all speak at once.
Ian, I mean, every time we do these mill and overlays, I don't see anywhere on here where you've talked or been in conversation with the public utilities. But every time we do these mill and overlays, we get this all done and pretty, and 9 times out of 10, utilities come in and cut a square out.
Oh,
And
sure.
I think that compromises, obviously, what we've just done. So can we get ahead of that and identify those issues? Because I know they've cut into industrial quite a bit, those little square patches.
Sure.
Can we talk with them before we start getting down to the process of
Yes, well,
reconstruct?
certainly can, yes. As far as our utility goes, I have been in contact with KIP about things that we need to do on our end. We have been in touch with Excel, knowing what their projects are for this year. They haven't indicated that they have anything along either of these streets. That being said, I think, say like Comcast and those people, we haven't hit all those companies yet, but yes, I agree that would be best to do before we end up getting a new fresh pavement surface and then it gets hacked up again.
Yeah, and if they could focus on manholes, because
Yep.
that again is the same issue. It's lower than the final pavement
Yep.
wear course. And it just, then they come back in and screw that all up.
Yep. So the manholes are typically public utility manholes, so
Right.
sanitary sewer, storm sewer. They have to be a little bit below the pavement surface just because you also don't want them to be like a tent in the road and your my snowplow is going to hit them and then that's a real big problem. But yeah, you also don't want to set them too low that you're going to thunk over
Not
them
just
every
that,
time.
we have to go back and redo them.
Yep.
And then we're cutting
exactly.
back into the road we just repaired.
Yep. So we'll definitely make sure that we do have in the project a number of adjustments on the manholes to make sure that they're at the right spot, because it seems like over time it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse until you come back.
I know
in
the
and do
older
something
town
like
is
this, so.
they're failing, the cement is crumbling from most of it, but
Yep.
as we're moving into that,
Yep, exactly.
Thank
We
you.
have thought about those things. Yep.
I have a question on the
Yeah.
stage line piece. So you do the mill and overlay, how long does that last generally before you have to redo?
It kind of depends on how good or bad the pavement is that you're working with. If it's not too bad, usually they can last 15 or so years. If it's not great, then it's like 10 is probably
Gotcha.
about the.
I guess my question is where are we? Do we know where we are at all with Carmichael 94 interchange?
Not to my knowledge at this point. I think that's still kind of up in the air with.
That's a ways off, right?
Answer is no.
Yeah.
How old are each of these roads?
Industrial Street, I believe it was built in like the 70s or so.
But what, I mean, how old is the current
Top layer
asphalt
of
and top layer or
pavement.
whatever? Or
Oh goodness,
when was the last redo?
that's a good question. I should research. Sorry, put me on the spot. Stage line is, I think it was built in the 90s, if I remember right, and I don't think
Okay.
it's been. It doesn't
Oh,
look like it's been
okay.
touched
So
since
it's been
then.
more than 20
so
years,
it's been
okay.
too long.
Yeah,
and there was a time we all got a report, the Whistler report on the roads for our certain districts. If we could get those again, that would help,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, I don't recall seeing any of those.
but before your time.
Okay. So it's been a while. Yeah, that's certainly information we can get to you all.
So where stage line goes up to the roundabout, where you're cutting it off before then, I assume that was all done.
Yeah, when the
Couple of years
roundabout
ago,
was
right?
built, not that long ago.
Right. So you're going up to that
Up to
point
that
where,
point, yep.
got it. Good.
So,
I'll move to approve.
No, I'll move to suspend the rules.
Oh, second.
Motion and second to suspend the rules. Roll call?
Morissette.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Atkins, Hoggett.
Yes.
And Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved, rules are suspended.
Move to approve Resolution 3-20.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, discussion?
So, yeah, my only question, Dean, on this one is, has this gone through Public Works Committee, or is this, I feel like this is the first time I've seen it, but I don't know if is that the case, Mike? Can't remember.
It hasn't gone through Public Works, but it did go through the CIP bonding
Yeah.
cycle.
Okay.
Council approved the projects last year, part of the CIP cycle, yeah.
Okay, it was just looking new to me, so I was curious about why it was coming here before, but,
So this is the last project that we're working off of Tom Sifko's work, the previous city engineer. They had put together a replacement program, 5-year replacement program. This is the last year. Dean is working on a new pavement management program, which we'll be unveiling here within the next couple of Public Works Committee meetings that will move forward for the next actually 40 years. Okay. To 2040.
yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say, that was a long time. No, I don't look out that far, but, yeah, so it has been a part of the CIP for, I think, quite a while, but, we haven't talked about it Public Works recently anyway.
okay.
All right, anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion's approved. Staff introduction of ADA transition plan. Dean?
Yep. Just wanted to introduce the ADA transition plan to you all tonight. We also talked about it at the Public Works Committee meeting last month. So I just wanted to give you all kind of a what is this and why is this here right now, and and tell you kind of how we're planning to move forward with it. And then we're not looking for any formal action tonight. We still need to do some information gathering, and we just wanted to kind of put it before you and then ask for your questions, comments, concerns, and then also ask for some help with identifying some public to engage, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So ADA stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was a federal law that was adopted in 1990, so it's been around for quite a while. The law was effective in 1991. It was revised in 2010 as well. So what is the Americans with Disabilities Act? It essentially requires state and local governments, all the way up to the federal government, to have policies, plans, and procedures in place to accommodate their citizens or visitors or anybody with disabilities, to make sure that they have the same amount of ability to use services that somebody who's able-bodied does. There's a bunch of different sections to the ADA law. The section that applies to us right now is Title II, State and Local Government Services. There's a whole bunch of different requirements that are in there. I'll just go through just a few right now. We have to complete a self-evaluation of our facilities, and so with all this, what I'm saying tonight, we're talking mostly about sidewalks, trails, and curb ramps. Eventually, we'll have to identify like buildings and other facilities that we have, and also the procedures that we go through to like make meetings like this accessible to people with disabilities. But for now, we're starting in this spot. So have to complete a self-evaluation of what we're doing right now. Thankfully, with the sidewalks and trails and curb ramps, we just completed a whole plan that identifies a lot of those problems. So we're ahead of the ball on that one. We must allow public comments to be incorporated into the self-evaluation process, so I'll get to that in a little bit as well. We must also complete a transition plan, which is what I'm in front of you here tonight about. Transition plan, essentially, it's kind of telling everybody how we're planning on getting from point A, which is where we're at right now, to point B, which is fully accessible in our city to anybody with a disability. There's specific requirements in the ADA law that must be met to make a route accessible. I'm not going to get into them tonight. It's very specific and there's a lot of requirements. It requires all new installation to meet ADA requirements as much as feasible. It requires that curb ramp upgrades must be brought up to compliance with alterations of the traveled roadway. And the ADA law specifically states that projects like mill and overlays, like we're doing on Industrial Street and Stage Line Road, reclamation, street reconstructions, projects like that will trigger the need to upgrade pedestrian ramps to be compliant. Projects such as seal coats, crack filling, joint repairs, pothole filling, more maintenance type stuff do not require us to bring up curb ramps to compliance. So a little bit more about the transition plan itself. Has to identify physical obstacles in our facilities that limit the accessibility of programs or activities to individuals with disabilities. It must describe in detail the methods that we're going to use to make the facilities accessible. Specify a schedule for taking the steps necessary to achieve compliance. Indicate that there's an official responsible for carrying out the plan. Specifically mentions curb ramps and sloped areas where pedestrians cross curbs. What it is not is a list of specific projects, so it's not saying that this pedestrian ramp out front of City Hall is going to happen this year and that one's going to happen that year and that one's going to happen that year. It's just kind of more of an umbrella policy that when we do this project, we're going to also upgrade our facilities to be compliant, that kind of thing. So why now? We are overdue for having a transition plan in place. We were supposed to have had a transition plan in place in July of 1992 and have not. So, and that is not atypical of many communities. So the ADA law didn't really have much teeth into, getting these plans in place. So finally, just recently, the Federal Highway Administration has decided that they'll be starting to withhold federal funding for projects if your community does not have a transition plan in place. We can be sued for not having a plan in place. We can be subject to penalties and enforcement actions by the U.S. Department of Justice without a plan in place. So it's kind of we need to make sure we just get our ducks in a row. And it doesn't say that the plan has to exactly look like this or that. It's kind of it's a more general requirement. So I feel that we need to kind of get this done so that we can not have the looming cloud of liability over our heads and also make our community a better place for everybody who lives in it. So next steps. So I brought this to Public Works Committee last meeting. I had some really good feedback on what I presented and some of the next steps. So introduction to City Council tonight. We'll draft the plan internally, so I've already been working on it. We'll also be developing a focus group or focus groups of community members that are specifically impacted by this plan. That was some feedback we got at the Public Works Committee that I thought was great. We'll eventually hold a public hearing and incorporate those comments into the plan as well. And with all that stuff pulled together, we'll modify the draft plan, bring the draft plan to Public Works Committee, and then City Council for approval. So what I am looking for either tonight or in the future is if you guys could help me out in identifying people who would be good to contact regarding input into this work, and if you have any questions or concerns about anything that I was saying or the next steps from here.
So Dean, thanks for that work. Thanks for the work, because I think it's really important to get up to date on this. So I appreciate you laying the groundwork for us. My question is, could you put together like a letter or like a small flyer or something that would list specifically kind of what you're looking for with the focus groups?
Sure.
And if you could email it to all of us,
Yep.
That might be helpful, because then I think I could bring that to certain people.
Okay.
It's a complicated plan and there's a lot of levels. So it would help if you could boil it down for us.
Sure. Yeah.
So if somebody has a sense, oh, this is exactly what the city's looking for this focus group or something?
Okay,
Would that
yeah.
be, would that be possible?
Yep, that would be great. Yep, I could do that.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deny operator license application as listed. Chief?
Hi. So, yeah, I didn't realize this was going to stay on the agenda. So, we had an applicant that applied for a liquor license application, and basically after reviewing their history, they had several convictions for things that are substantially related to the sale. And I guess, do you want details?
I think you can just say we recommend a denial. It's in the memo, the details. The letter was sent to the applicant, giving them the opportunity to come tonight and testify on their behalf if they'd like.
So we should see if there
That's,
is,
yeah.
is the
I
applicant
do
here?
not think they're here.
So the applicant chose not to come, and the chief's recommendation is denial.
I'll make the motion to deny the application.
Second.
Motion second to deny. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Chief. Approved purchase of iCompass Agenda Management System.
As we talked about at finance, it's a new system for our agenda preparation and then use by the council and public. We think that on the internal side, it'll cut our time, preparation time, possibly up to in half. It'll be much more efficient. And then I think on the user side, it's a lot more user-friendly. As council members, you'll not only always make sure you have the most updated agenda at all times, but you can take notes on it, you can handwrite with your finger stylus, you can type notes, all those good things. On the public side, they can also kind of do the same things, I think, which is helpful. The one thing that we're not looking for approval tonight, but could be coming back, is the video side of it. And the benefit with that video side of it is basically we can list on our website or the River Channel website the agenda itself, and someone can just click on that agenda item and it'll jump right to that portion of the YouTube video. So you don't have to play that game of scrolling, then listening. Are we talking about that? Shoot, did I miss it? Go back. It takes you right there. You can see what you want to see. So we're waiting on that part. So that may be coming back in the future. But for now, the actual agenda management part is what we're looking for approval on.
I have a question about the video piece. If we don't go through it with it now, can that be added with ease?
Anytime.
Or okay.
It's just and honestly, because we already use YouTube as our way that we get it out, we don't need to buy a new encoder or anything like that. It's just all tied together. It's more just a software install that we'd have to get. So.
Thank you.
And Aaron, is it, I think I heard you say this last meeting, but someone in the public could click on an agenda item?
Yep.
And would it pull up the video
Yep, so
of that
that's the goal
discussion?
of it, is if we get to that video part, which we're not approving necessarily tonight, because we're
Right.
waiting to hear from the cable channel about that, but we, come back one way or the other, can talk about it. But yep, that's the nice part of it. So when you look at this agenda and you got all these items, instead of playing the game of scrolling, listening,
Right.
you can just click right on it, it'll jump you right to that point of the agenda. You can watch what you want to watch and kind of be done with it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head the cost of that when we do decide we'd like to add it?
Yes, I do have
I
it.
think it said 4,000.
Yeah, the additional part was
So it's
4,000
quite a
for
bit
that.
more.
Yep, it was,
That's an annual subscription.
it is an annual subscription. They both
Boy,
are.
that's a slick
Right.
feature, though.
It is very nice, yep, and I agree, and I think it helps the public a lot with being able to see what's going on for us. So we'll have to see, but again, I'll be talking with Nate again, just to kind of fill him in and see what he thinks, and we'll go from there with it. But we can always bring it back and talk about it again. But I think if nothing else, even just the agenda management side of it, both internally and externally for users, is much better than what we're doing.
How long would it take to implement the system once?
My
we
hope
approve
would
it?
be is that we'll have it up and running for like the March meeting. That'll be our first kind of kickoff one, is we'll be trying it then. It doesn't take too long to get it installed. And then they do extensive training, like kind of remotely. They do like webinars to teach all of our, staff will be using it, how to do it. And then they have a whole bunch of just like videos online, like I showed you, I sent to you of how to do it as well. And it's pretty user friendly, to be honest. So it won't take us long to get it going once it's installed.
And Aaron, is this a system that you've used before, or is this
I
new?
actually have used this one before.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I have used it before, and it's, our clerk really liked it before, and so did our council.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you're familiar with it,
I am.
basically?
Yep. Yep.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Approve HRA contribution increase for city employees.
Again, one discussed before at finance, back in basically the 2016 budget process, so in 2015, when the Affordable Care Act was first approved, there was basically a Cadillac tax that was included in the act that would be applied to any sort of, any employer that has, that had provided insurance benefits kind of above a certain level. And if you did that, you would have to pay this extra, basically taxes is what it was. It was never actually implemented. It was always delayed throughout the process with the Affordable Care Act, so nobody's ever had to pay the Cadillac tax. And then in 2019, with this latest tax bill, it was actually formally removed completely. So we've never had to pay anything for it. No one has, but with that, we thought we were going to, that's when we reduced everyone's benefits, as I talk about, $250 per year for single family coverage or $500 for the family. And so with that, what we're proposing is now that we know for sure we'll never have to pay it, we'd like to reinstate that. We would use our healthcare savings account that we have as a city to pay for it. That's the fund where every year we pay so much in premiums, but we have kind of a semi-self-insured plan. So if we don't actually use that amount of insurance, we get a rebate back from our insurer, and that money goes into that fund. And so we have more than sufficient amount of dollars in that fund to cover this amount for now and moving forward in the future. And so we think it would be probably, staff recommends it's a good thing to do considering that we did it for a reason we don't have. That's not there.
And we have the funds for it.
We do. We have no problem with that. Yep.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Reclassification of the 2020 Capital Improvement Fund for Public Works Equipment.
So bringing forth a request to reclassify a piece of equipment that was identified in the 2020 capital improvement plan. In there, we identified the purchase of a wheel loader to add to our fleet to continue plowing the newer subdivisions and developments that are going on in the city. Upon further review, looking to purchase a single axle plow truck instead to increase efficiencies by not having to retrace plow routes that we currently have with the graders and the loaders and having to retrace them and salt again. So in the budget, in the CIP, we had budgeted $250,000. A new truck approximately cost $215. So then looking to utilize the remaining funds to purchase a wing mower for our parks to increase efficiencies in our mowing operations in the summertime. So just looking for reclassification of that equipment.
Move to reclassify.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on Assistant City Administrator Community Development Director position.
Yes, I think most of the council was here at the Finance Committee when we talked about this, but just to kind of review it again. Since I've started, one of the things has been kind of looking at our operations and how we're doing things. One of the things I identified is most communities our size definitely have an Assistant City Administrator, but we're not big enough, in my opinion, at least to have a standalone, where it makes sense to have a combined one. And I mentioned before, historically, I've had an assistant city administrator / HR director, and I've had one that's also been a / finance director too. So it's definitely very common to do it that way. In our situation, I think it makes the most sense with our community development director. I think Mike is well suited for the role. I think he'll do a very good job with it. I think he's very directly involved with a lot of the things that are already going on. And I think it'll be very beneficial for us to get him involved in more on the administrative side, not necessarily related directly to community development. And so with that, I'm proposing that's the route we take. And I'd like to see us get going on it. It's good timing, as I mentioned before. His department is adding staff with the new planner/GIS. We have our new city engineer. It gives him an opportunity to take a look at how the community development department's being run, being able to pass off some of the duties that he currently does to some of his staff, which is good for us too, which helps to get those staff more involved in things which I'm sure they want to be more involved in with more duties and responsibilities. So timing-wise, it seems like a good time as well.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Discussion?
So effective tomorrow?
Yes, effective tomorrow.
Didn't your memo say,
Salary.
like at the next pay period or something? I thought I read that,
I don't know if I.
not tomorrow, but rather,
No, I just said that what I'd be looking for is approval of that, kind of updating the job description, adding the assistant city administrator role, and then approving the pay schedule as presented. So with approving of the pay schedule, because that's a new thing that we haven't had before, then Mike would move to that 90%, that start sort of role.
very good.
So on page 71, it does say at the start of the new pay schedule, in the staff recommendation, the last line of the staff recommendation.
No, what I meant is putting him at the start of the new pay schedule, which means
Oh.
that.
I
What
mis-
90%.
I also misread that.
I see what you're
Yes.
saying. Usually it's called pay steps. We seem to call it pay schedule, so I was trying to keep it consistent with what we've called it before.
Gotcha.
But basically, it's approving the start of at
Yes.
the start of that new pay step.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Not new pay period.
Gotcha.
Yes.
There you go. Now I see where we're coming from.
I know from my view, it's a great idea. I think Mike has outstanding qualifications and has a track record here in Hudson that's really
How much you pay him?
My only question on this one is for Kathy, actually. I don't know the legal end of it, so maybe help me here. I want to make sure we're not missing a step in creating, I don't know how it works if you create a new city position, if you have to, like post and interview people, or I don't know if this is classified somehow as like we're just reshuffling the
think-
current position.
We don't have a classified system here, and if you want to change a job description to add additional duties, you're free to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. What I have is I want to congratulate the Hudson Raiders for winning the state title, Division I kick, as well as second place in jazz. So congratulations to the Raiders, and hopefully they'll come in here. I think that we've had that precedent where they come in every now and then when they do something like that. That's great. So when you see them, congratulate them. I've seen the signs around town. I think that's pretty cool. I've got nothing else. Anything for future agendas, comments?
I got something. Hudson has a mental health crisis going on here, and although the city, it's really not in the purview of the city council, I would like to have a discussion on, are there some things that we can do to promote better mental health? And perhaps a letter from the council to our state and federal legislators might be a good idea to consider. Also, I think that we should probably, I guess I'd like a report from the administrator on how our health insurance covers mental health for the employees, and see if there are any improvements that need to be made there, and then just have a general discussion on it.
Okay. Anybody else?
So we did have the parking system issue on the agenda. I sent to council an email today saying that we removed it. And I just want to, I think, kind of explain just a little bit with that. I'm not going into details or anything other than the fact that, we as, city staff, we recognize that there are concerns with the system, and it's valid that, this was a big change for us. We rolled out some things, but I think that we're doing a lot already, that we're going to be addressing those things. And I talked about that a little in my original memo, where we're discussing that we're really going to push the educational side of things, which is not just put something on the website and do whatever. We're actually going to have our enforcement officers out there walking around helping people when they're staring at the machine going, what does this do? How do we do it? Helping them download the app. Trying to really be out there in a positive way to try to promote the system. We're going to be working on enhanced signage, where we're going to hopefully help with eliminating some of the questions early by having better signage out there with it. We want to do a lot of things to help people with it, to help the transition and those sort of things. And then also with that too, we do have our downtown parking committee that wants to, I believe, make some recommendations to the council. And I take responsibility for the communication side of hearing what concerns I thought there were, trying to address those, but at the same time, not because of timing, not being able to get back with that committee to allow them to weigh in as well. So I want them to know that we want to kind of hear that part, so which is why I said, let's take it through the process, let's take a hold on it, because we can, although we recognize that these things are out there, we want to make sure they're being addressed, we can take the time to do it. So that committee is going to be making recommendations, we're going to be going through public safety, and then ultimately coming back to the council for discussion. And the other part of this is that I just do want to stress, though, that we still do have our current system in place. We are enforcing it. So just recognize that we're still actively enforcing the system. Nothing has changed yet. There's no guarantee that anything will, but that we recognize that with it all, that there were some concerns. We're doing a lot of things right now just internally to address those to help with them. But enforcement is still happening. I want to make sure that's clear. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, discussion and possible action to convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved involving two lawsuits filed by former employee.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion and second to go into closed session, roll call.
I keep forgetting I gotta do this. I gotta find the right page again. All right, I can do the roll call at least. I'll write it down in a second. Morissette.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Atkins, Hagen, and
Yes.
Hall. Who made the
Yes.
motion in second? I'm sorry.
I made the
All
motion.
I seconded.
Thank you.
All right, we will go across the hall into closed session. Session,
Move to adjourn.
Second?
motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.